So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Carly. I'm part of the marketing team at Deselect. And I'll just be doing a brief intro this morning before we go ahead and move into the speaker parts of this presentation. So on the left here, we have Greg from Deselect as well. He's an account executive for us. And we'll be speaking today alongside Francis, Senior Customer Success Manager at Optimize. So you do both want to get started and say a few words?
Right. Thank you very much for the warm introduction, Carly. And it's a pleasure to welcome everyone who joins our webinar today. My name is Gregory, and I'm an account executive in Deselect. And today is my pleasure to co-host the webinar with our trusted partner, Optimize. And I would like to pass the word to you, Francis.
So, hi everyone. Thanks, Greg. My name's Francis. I work at Optimize. I'm part of the customer success team based in Munich. And I just wanted to briefly introduce to you today how easy it is to make print happen as a valued channel. Also at any point in time, feel free to ask any questions and we will try and get around to every single one of them.
So thank you very much, Francis. Let's move in. And first of all, we would like to guide you through the agenda of today's webinar. So today we are going to, first of all, cover the challenges that customers face on both sides in Deselect and Optimize. And we would like to share how did we come up with the idea of the webinar. So what challenges we want to cover today. Also, we'll talk on how to segment your audience and how to define the right channel for audience communication. We'll also discuss how to optimize direct mail automation. And to showcase that and go a bit through the real case example, we'll go through the segmentation use case for an e-commerce store where we define the audience and a channel. We'll also personalize our audience, and we will also define how this can be a part of your journey in Journey Builder. Last but not least, we'll also set up a direct mail campaign live, and you will see how to do it step by step in just 3, 2, 1. And this audit can be automated. So please, as Francis mentioned, do not forget that you can add your questions directly in the chat, but we also foresee some time by the end of the webinar to answer them. Okay, and I think we can start, Francis, with sharing some challenges that we see among the customers, what we see among both those who make their campaign or just the campaign managers who just need to segment their audience. If I may start, so from our experience, we see that many customers or many Marketing Cloud users actually do lack some technical knowledge when it comes to audience creation and data management. And when I say data or technical knowledge, I mean knowledge of some coding skills such as SQL, which you need to know to define advanced and proper segmentation, to define narrow segment, and AMP script, which you need to use to personalize your communication in Content Builder or in email or SMS, etc. I also see that it not having proper and sanity data causes record duplicates and incomplete records, which also is a challenge for the marketer. And last but not least, it leads to poor targeting and lack of personalization. So we see a lot of brands fail to scale and use personalized emails. Francis, do you see the common challenges among your customers, and what is your take on it?
Yeah, so we have a very large range of customers from all industries, from fashion to automotive and you name it. But basically it boils down to one of these three things, or these three common topics. So relevance, sustainability, and return on investment. And relevance is quite a big problem for a lot of customers, because we're constantly bombarded by things trying to get our attention, and we've gotten really good at blending everything out. So personalization is a must in order to grab the interest and remain relevant. So the more personalized your content, the more relevant it is for the customer, and so the more uplifts are possible. Without data-driven marketing, you're just taking a shot in the dark. when it comes to sustainability, I think there's no denying that climate change is real, and people are increasingly conscious of making choices to reduce their impact on the environment. This places new demands, obviously, on all marketing activities, because we need to adapt and rethink our approaches accordingly. It's just, yeah, you can't do no advertising. Obviously, you have to do something, but doing so in a conscientious manner is really something that has become a very discerning factor. And obviously, last but far from least, is your return on investment. We've had in the last year or so seen an explosion of costs for energy and raw materials. And even though there might be some easing on the horizon, it's just going to play a very prevalent role for the foreseeable future. So optimization on our ROI here is even more crucial, so that we can offset all these costs through better revenues and customer loyalty. Without digitalization of marketing processes, though, this is impossible to overcome. And I think this is where Deselect plays such a crucial role, doesn't it, Greg?
I totally agree. And I wanted to say that I find it really relevant. So nowadays, any communication sent via any channel, it has to be indeed very personalized, since the channel and the chance that you can reach the customer is currently unique, and you do not want to spend your efforts and of course your budget on the wrong communication. Hence, yeah, I think this is that's how we came up with the idea, and we would like to show how you can utilize the power of both solutions to actually maximize the ROI and make sure that the message that you send will be reaching the recipients, and yeah, it will resonate with them. All right, I suggest we can proceed further, and we'll start sharing on how the combination of two solutions work. Well, first of all, I would like to shed some light on how does targeting and personalization in our approach work. What we suggest and the way we approach audience personalization for any channel is that we start from segmenting and personalizing data in Deselect. First of all, Deselect can access all data that stays in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And you can use your data from other clouds, like from Sales or Service Cloud, for example, as synchronized data extensions, standard data extensions, and some behavioral data, like when a person opened an email, clicked a link, etc. As then we create a new target data extension where we already define fields to be personalized. The reason we do it this way is that once you create such a data extension with the new fields, you can use them in any communication channel, being direct mail, being SMS, push, or email. And the advantage here is that you are not expected to code or personalize it per communication channel. It's done once and you store it in a data extension. We'll be using Deselect for that. So, well, you can also see, or sometimes you see we are called as a segment studio for Marketing Cloud. I will not, well, go very much deep into details on, yeah, of all the features of the solution. What I want to mention is that we are an AppExchange partner, so we are available on the AppExchange and fully integrated into Salesforce Marketing Cloud. It's a drag and drop solution, so you are not expected to know code, but for those who prefer to write some SQL code, we'll also show what is generated in the backend, and it's also plug and play. And I would like to pass the word to you, Francis. Could you please share some light? So once the segment is created, how do we define the direct mail campaign?
Yeah, so just briefly, our core belief is that direct mail should be an integral part of every cross-channel marketing strategy. That means that you, for example, start the journey with email, the customer doesn't respond, doesn't open it, then you lead into maybe sending a reminder, and then you lead into print. It becomes an integral part of that, of reaching out. And although many think that print advertising in particular, is very old school, all it was needed was a bridge into the digital world. So we've created a SaaS solution for this. This means that you can now regard print mailing as a performance channel, even though you're primarily moving online in a digital world. And with the integration into your CRM, you can achieve conversion rates of up to 10% or even greater. I have one customer in Berlin that regularly has an ROI on each mailing of around 14. So a factor of 14, which is fantastic, obviously. And they're actually now working on increasing that further. So we call this direct mail automation because it combines the best of both the digital and the physical world by integrating the mailing process into your CRM, such as Salesforce, and making it very effortless so that you can focus on the needs of your customer. The question you're obviously asking is how is basically better conversions through segmentation and personalizations. Personalizations really adds value and thanks to your data, and it's not just for emails or SMS. This may sound a bit more technical than it actually is, because our dashboard makes it very easy for you to then take this data from your segmentation from Deselect to create a mailing. Yeah. So how would you agree? Sorry. Yeah, exactly. So talking about segmentation, you can use it for a wide range of use cases, not just reactivation and cart abandonment. We have customers that use it regularly for birthdays, for example, to just really create further loyalty with their customers. And then with Deselect, you're able to take these segments that are interesting for generating uplifts, and then with us you can then create these mailings for each of these use cases. So we always educate our customers to think from their customer's perspective, which means identifying segments first and then create the use case that would bring the most value to these customers. What does this look like in practice? Well, we are going to create an example to follow this process step by step. So first we'll have to start with a segment.
All right. Thank you very much, Francis. Indeed. So we prepared the use case for today where we'll cover several, the full scenario on how you can define the direct mail campaign from scratch. And as Francis mentioned, well, indeed, so it can cover various use cases. For today, we want to focus on the one simple, the simple use case, and we'll go for a fashion brand example. So we'll look on the goal of the campaign first, and let's say that our fashion brand wants to launch a second purchase push campaign and provide their users with a coupon. We'll define very simple audience criteria. So let's say we want to find only those customers who paid at least 75 euros for all the purchases they did in the last several days, let's say in the last several months. We can also say that, we want to ensure that they did not receive emails in the last number of days. They are not oversaturated, and they are not, or at least they are, if they receive those, they do respond or they do interact with our brand. Finally, we need to define the right channel for this communication, which we will look into opt-in or lack thereof, and we'll also use other criteria such as age or past engagement.
If I could just quickly, in case you're wondering what you mean lack of opt-in, the beauty with print versus email is that by email it's you have to opt in. For mailings, physical mailing, it's an opt-out channel. So even if someone hasn't agreed to receive emails from you, unless they specifically say they don't want to receive print mailings, you can still reach them through that channel.
That's actually one of the great examples of how you can use direct mail in cases when, let's say the person did not give you a direct or explicit opt-in. Maybe, Francis, do you have some other examples how you see your customers are using that? Do you see that as a good leverage to reach to those customers who, let's say, opted out, or what's your take on it?
Well, we find some customers use this option for reactivation. That's probably the most common use, but also if they try to reach out to their customer and the email bounces back. So if you suddenly try to reach out to someone, it's not available, the email address is no longer available or whatever, then they would send a physical mailing to try and reach out to them, and that way try to get that person to sign back on and maybe update their details.
I think it's a great example, and you can see how you can leverage those clients who are less engaged, and let's say they do not they don't prefer email, let's say, as a communication channel. And I find this is a great use case. All right, let's move forward. And we also mentioned in the last slide that we are going to send our customers some coupons or vouchers. For this, or for today's example, we will not create the vouchers from scratch, but they are already defined in the demo platform. I want to say a few words on how we approach the creation of vouchers. So we see that many, especially many retail brands, are struggling to not only to create their coupons, but to match and connect them to their clients, which we suggest the following approach to do this. We create the roll number for both tables of contacts and coupons. And with this roll number new column, we can just connect them or join them. And once this is done, you can actually track if the coupon was redeemed, what is the amount left, and other important actions such as when did it happen and how often. I will not cover that in detail, but there is a link here which you can click. And of course, the slides after the webinar will be shared. So feel free to read it in more detail if you find it interesting.
If I could just add two little points to vouchers. The first one is that it's often overlooked, but it's actually very, very valuable to have personalized vouchers per person, because it first of all, it obviously avoids abuse, but it also allows you to accurately track who is being converted by the voucher. And in addition to that, we have a lot of customers who then start A/B testing based on that. So you would have different voucher values with different conditions to see how that performs. One example is one customer of mine currently is running an A/B test with a no minimum purchase, but 15% off, or a minimum purchase value and therefore 25% off, to see how that performs.
That's an interesting example, Francis. I think also, I think the more advanced use case that we see among some our customers is, for example, when they use multiple coupons or multiple vouchers, and that becomes a bit harder to find out which is the most recent voucher they are using. So yeah. I believe that it's also important in that case to send the communication based on their last voucher they have. So it's also quite important for data sanity, according to the most used cases. That's interesting context you can see. Well, maybe to show you that step by step, we suggest the following approach that we start our segmentation from. And first of all, we'll go just through these 4 steps. First off, we'll define the right audience. We will define the right filters and exclusions there. When we define the right channel, we'll define opt-in. We'll look at opt-in and out channels, as we discussed before. And we'll use some other criteria such as age or location of a person. Lastly, we'll also personalize our data based on product preference, product category, for example, and we'll also define a proper salutation. And for this, we'll look at a German example, so Liebe or Lieber. And finally, to wrap it up, we'll define the final configuration in Journey Builder to set it up and automate. Okay, so I suggest we can move to the practical part of our webinar, and we will show you how do we approach this, and we'll show it step by step from scratch, creating the segment and creating and automating your direct mail campaign. Okay, let me switch to my Salesforce Marketing Cloud account. Here we go. All right, so first of all, we will start with defining our audience. For that, I will switch to Salesforce Marketing Cloud account, and I will go directly to deselect. As mentioned, we're an AppExchange partner. So once you click on the AppExchange, you'll end up in the deselect dashboard. This is the starting screen where you start creating your segmentation or selections. As you can see, every selection has some information about it, such as status or number of records, and other important data such as created and modified by. And you can also schedule or templatize your selections. On the left side, you can also manage them by the folders, which, as you can see, can be pretty configurable per your, let's say, per your industry or per your department. And you can create as many folders as you prefer. Let's start right away and create a new selection, which I will call fashion brand selection. And I will click save. So in deselect, we'll follow 3 easy steps to create a segment. The first one is a selection criteria, where we define our data extensions that we're going to use, and we'll apply some filters to filter our audience. The second step, called target definition, will be used to define the target data extension, so where we save the results of the selection. And we will also define some personalization fields and define the right channel for them. And lastly, we'll preview our selection to ensure that the result we are getting is looks the same as we expect this to be. All right, let's start with the selection criteria. And first of all, I would like to add my first data extension here. In deselect, you can either add data extensions one by one, or you can add them as a data set. So data set is a combination of data extensions that you use the most commonly, so you can create it as you see fit. For example, I will use contacts, transactions, and products combination of data extensions. And I also want to ensure that we do not target any unsubscribes. So people who gave their explicit opt-out, let's not reach out. And I also, as mentioned, I added vouchers data extension. So once this is defined, I will just move to the filters. And according to our use case, we'll use several simple filters. First of all, let's define that the type of the type of products that a person made a purchase on should be clothing. So you can you are not expected to know the values in your data extension by heart, but you can just see a drop-down list here, and in our case, that only should be one value. And I will just use a few more filters, which is the related filters. Related filters means that it is the relation between two tables, two data extensions. I need to define the relation between contacts and emails that were sent, but my filter is that I want to ensure that find those contacts to whom no emails were sent in the last 7 days. So I say event date is in previous 7 days. This way we exclude those contacts who already received some communication, and we do not want to oversaturate them. Last but not least, I will add a filter on relation between contacts and transactions. And in deselect, you can do quite advanced filters on using aggregations and calculations, which is extremely useful for example, lifetime value calculation for retail and other industries. But let's take a simple example of calculating the total amount of all the transactions done by a contact. And we say they should have at least paid 75 euros in total. Once this is defined, we can move forward to the second step called target definition. And since already the audience is defined and we applied the right filters, we can create a data extension where we store the results and personalize them. I'll go ahead and create a new data extension here. So we need to provide it with a unique name. Let's go with example. We can define if it should be sendable, testable, and other parameters. And at this point, you can define which fields you prefer to have in your target data extension. This will become important once we send the campaign, and as Francis will show you soon in the campaign creation and automation, you will use the fields defined at this point, and you will see how they would look in your mail and how the personalization will appear and will be printed. I will start with just you can add fields one by one, but to make it faster, I will add all the fields from context data extension right away. So we have them here. And I will start with personalizing our audience. So I will add a few custom values, and I will start from the most important one, which is called preferred channel. So you can do a lot of custom values in deselect, but we will focus on a dynamic value, which is if then logic, and we'll base it on some criteria. Now, today I'm going to use quite a simple example of how to define the audience. So let's say that our criteria for today would be that if opt-in is equals to false, we can consider this as a criteria as to send a direct mail campaign. As Francis mentioned, well, you do not need to get a direct opt or direct consent from the customer. This could be a good point to reinitiate the contact with your client. We can set another example and say, for example, when person's birthday is before or on, let's say 65 years ago. Well, in that case, we can assume that people of older generation would prefer and appreciate more having a post mail rather than an email or SMS. So these are two simple examples. Francis, do you have any other use cases, or when do you think could be other important criteria to define the right use case for direct mail channel? I think you're muted, Francis.
Terribly sorry. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. So we have, for example, a customer out of the automotive branch. They will use as a trigger that it's been 700 days since your car was last in for its warrant of fitness, and so it's due again, or based on the mileage that you drive, they will send you a reminder on service or anything like that. We have other customers who use all kinds of different interesting triggers. We even have one that says that if you were logged in on the website and you looked at a product and a related product, then it will use that to generate a mailing as a first order push, basically. So you can use almost anything that you want. I think your imagination is the limit here, and it all depends on how good your data is. And what's just one little point as well is that you can define all of these fields here to create your segment, and you can then use any of these in the mailing itself, because in the mailing you define which ones are used for the personalization.
Right. I totally agree with you, Francis. I think the important point you raised is that you need to have enough data in Salesforce, Marketing Cloud, or in any platform you wish to start your communication from, and that would make it as granular and as efficient to define a channel as possible. Right. In that case, I will stick to this quite simple example. So let's say it should be one of these two criteria: or opt-in is false, or person's birthday is 65 years ago or earlier. And we can define that if these criteria are true, then the channel would be direct mail. Let's define a few more criteria. So let's say when opt-in field equals true and opt-in channel equals, or to be precise, contains SMS channel here, it is fair to say that we can send an SMS to this customer. Lastly, so in case that person is also opted in and one of their communications channel is email, so in that case, we can define email as the right channel. Otherwise, or default, so let's say if person does not fall into any of these criteria, then we can say the default channel is email. At this point, we can click Save and just add this as a new field to our target data extension. So now it will be saved and generated right there. I suggest we can proceed and now personalize our audience by defining the new field.
Before you proceed, there is a question regarding if you can make changes to these segments once you're done. And I think in the same vein, also a question regarding once you've created this segment, if it were possible to copy this, make a copy of a segmentation to then just be amended accordingly.
That's a great question. Thanks, Francis. I think one of the best ways to ensure that you actually do save the results of your selection and you can replicate it later is to create a template out of this selection. So if you see that, well, part of this selection is definitely can be reusable, here is the button to create a template. And once you define a template, no one else besides you can, or deselect admin can edit it. So you can ensure that it will stay untouched and can be copied, and an exact copy will be created if you do that. Okay, thank you for the question. Let's proceed with defining the first personalization field called salutation. And we'll do quite a simple example based on gender. So here, oops, I will say when gender equals male, we can say that the salutation is Liebe. Or when gender equals female, it's fair to say the salutation will be Liebe. But in case that's the contact did not provide you with their gender, or it was not specified, or they prefer not to mention that, you can just say a good salutation as Guten Tag. So this also can be added just one more field in our target data extension. And I will proceed with creating the last personalization field. So we want to ensure that the product that we want to push for a second purchase is relevant, and it at least stays in the category of the person of the category that person prefers. So we can call it product preference, and we'll also define a dynamic value here. The criteria that we will use would be as follows. So let's say that we want to define it and see if person likes some, like a certain color or the closest of a certain color, or it's not important for them and they just use all color clothes. I will use the following criteria, such as type. We want to ensure that type is closing, so they did bought some previous purchase was in closing, and the name of the product that they bought should be one of the products that are only available in one color, say black hoodie, blue trousers, green jacket, pink hoodie, and yellow top. If it's one of these products that were purchased by the customer, it's fair to say that it should be close in a specific color scheme. Another criteria we can add here, so the same will be as when type equals closing and the name of the product purchased is in let's say all-star pullover hoodie, let's say polo shirt, bomber jacket, etc. So if it's one of these goods, it's fair to say that it will be tops in all colors. But if we see that the previous purchase does not fall into any of a specific categories, we can say that the default option is no preference. Then we can just try an A/B test, or just send them a new suggestion of a product. Okay. Once this is defined, we can finalize the second step and save a new target data extension. So at this point, it is generated and saved in a Salesforce Marketing Cloud account. Now you can use it in Email Studio, in Journey Builder, or in Automation Studio, etc. And let's proceed to the last step called preview. So once we predefined the channel, filtered the audience, and personalized it, we can click Run Preview, and you will see the results of this preview screen. So you can see the total number of records expected in this selection. In my case, it's 16. And if I scroll to the right, you can see the product preference is defined. Salutation is also based on the gender, and the preferred channel in this case is direct mail. As you can see, well, you can do it in drag and drop environment. You can also do it with a SQL query if you prefer to write it from scratch. So this is what Deselect generates in the backend, and you can see what you need to write to get the same results. Right. Okay, so that's the last step. Once the segment is created, we can proceed to the final step of the segment creation process, and this is activation of the process in Journey Builder. So once I switch to Journey Builder configuration, and I created quite a very simple journey, now we can use the data extension created as a starting point for the journey or your entry source. And the first activity I'm going to apply will be a decision split. Our decision split will be based on the field that we have just created called preferred channel. It's as simple as when preferred channel equals direct mail, then you know that you can proceed with a direct mail campaign. If it's SMS, there is an SMS activity. And when it's the remainder or email, yeah, then we can send an email to the customer. And at this point, I would like to now ask if Francis, if you can elaborate as of this point, when the segment is ready, how do you proceed with sending the direct mail? How do you use the personalization fields? And what do you think is the most important in this process?
So let me just quickly grab control of your screen. The first thing is that before you integrate direct mail into the journey, you have to create your mailing itself. And this is something that a lot of people think is quite challenging because it's quite different, because we're adding personalization fields that's drawing data from a database, etc. But in reality, it's actually very, very simple. Similarly to when you create your overall journey, you start with your segment first and then go over to your mailing. In this case, we suggest you work backwards with your mailing, where you start with your final result first. So in this case here, we have what the mailing should look like when it lands in the mailbox for your customer. Just quickly, what other platforms can Optimize be integrated into? Many. So we also have an API connection, for example. So if you want to know if or how to do so, just feel free to contact us, and we can put you in touch with the right people on our side. We have a solutions engineer who can help you with that. So yeah, just reach out and we'll see how we can make it happen for you. So yeah, but back to this example, we start with the final result. This is exactly what you want to have in the mailbox. And once you're happy with this, then all you do is you delete everything from here that is personalized. So in this case, we would remove the name, Erica. We would remove this here, the voucher code, the store code, and so forth. Because then the next step is that we create the personalized file. Here you have the references to the first name, to the individualizations for the product pictures that Greg, for example, mentioned. We've got here the store name, etc. And once we have these personalized fields defined, ideally on a separate layer, this is what's called your personalized file, and this is the one that we need in order to assign all these all these values or this data that you have. When you then blend out this layer, you're left with all the static elements that are the same for every single mailing in that campaign, and this is what we call our print file. So that's really it. You've got your personalized file, you've got your print file, and that's it. So you just take your final result, remove all the personalized fields, create a personalized file on a separate layer, and then when you blend that layer out, you've got your print file. And once you have this, the next step is to then just upload it onto the platform. So in this case, I'll be showing you the platform itself, where you would then just simply go to automations, create a new automation. In this case, we call it fashion example, select your country, save, and here you can define what the minimum value should be, because the data, once you set up this automation and build it into the journey, data will then just flow every time, whatever you set that to. Whenever data is available for a bunch of customers, it will flow through. And once we reach 500, or in particular for Germany, 5,000, because that's quite interesting in terms of postal costs, it will then trigger a mailing. So then you have the different fields that can be mapped, and that's it. In this case, we have a multitude of different mailing materials you can select. In this example, we're doing a DIN long. We'll configure that. We'll say we'd like 300 gram paper because we'd like it to be a little bit thicker, because it suits our brand. Confirm it, and then we take those two files that we created earlier. We have the static, the print file, and then we have the personalized file, and that's it. Then we go to review it. We're happy with everything. We activate it, and you're done. Now your automation is live, and you just go back into, for example, Salesforce, into the journey builder, then you integrate the little tile. When you click on it, you can now select this mailing. And once you've done that, it's live, data flows, your mailing goes out, and we can also, for example, via web hooks, give you feedback on that when the mailing has actually been handed over to post, so that you can then start expecting from people to start using the vouchers. Yeah.
Princess, that looks pretty straightforward. Out of curiosity, on average, how much time does it take when you start to automate your campaign and then the mails start flowing to the customers?
It really depends on what you select. If you take a standard product like the postcards, it's about 4 working days between the day that it's triggered and it's handed over to the post office, and then it depends on the location again where it's being sent to. But it's very feasible to trigger an automation on a Friday afternoon, so that on Monday morning it gets turned to mailing, on Thursday it's with a post, and it's very likely that the first people will be receiving their birthday cards, for example, on the Saturday or the Monday.
Great, that's pretty fast. Thank you.
So yeah, that was it. Before I continue, are there any questions regarding that? Because I think I did cover that quite fast, and it is something that we get asked very often, but as I've shown, it is relatively straightforward. You just start with your final example, remove the personalized fields, have your 2 print files, switch into live, and then you're away laughing. So to round off, I think we now reach the stage where we've had those questions at the beginning, those challenges that everyone faces, and here we will now quickly give a summary as to how we meet these. Cool.
Right.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Francis. I think, well, if I may share my thoughts on, well, from what I see, the combination of our solutions. First of all, we aim to enable our clients to play with their personalization, play with the power that you can get from writing a code without writing a single line of it. So as you can see, both products aim to define drag and drop interface without any let's say hiccups or headaches with integration, or providing any coding or connectivity between. So the integration is already inbuilt and you're not expected to do that. We want to enable our users to focus on the right audience and avoid any possible data mistakes, since having a mistake might be quite crucial to avoid it and to follow the GDPR rules and to respect the opt-in or opt-out preference. And I believe that's also we are living in a quite sensitive world to climate change. Francis, I see you are also talking about data-driven print marketing. Could you please share how nature-friendly our direct mail is?
In what terms do you mean? What you're allowed to use in a mailing itself, or?
I mean, in terms of like the I believe you mentioned in the beginning that well, now you reached recently the fully carbon neutral print mailings. Is that something that's well, you can elaborate on?
Yeah. So when it comes to the mailings themselves, we are fully carbon neutral on those. That is, and have so for almost 2.5 years now, I think it is. And it's something that we're very proud of and will continue to maintain. At the same time, though, the company as a whole is also carbon neutral, and we reduce or eliminate our carbon footprint wherever possible, and then also offset it with participation in projects, etc. So we're certified in that respect, and it's something that we're very proud of. And this plays back into the sustainability challenge that a lot of people face, or a lot of companies face, in order to ensure that that the consumer, the recipient, knows that by having received that mailing, they're not actually contributing in any way to climate change. So that's in terms of sustainability, that's actually something we're very proud of. And to play into the other two challenges you faced, so when it comes to individualization or in relevance, and this is where individualization really plays a key role when you personalize the product using the segmentation, and it really does make sure that what you send out is relevant to the recipient. So not only are you getting a better return on investment by generating better sales by having personalized, but also this also plays into the sustainability. The mailing you send is relevant, so the recipient also perceives it as being something valuable versus something frivolous. If you get a mailing that says, "Dear householder, buy yourself some garden furniture," and it's an apartment without a balcony, they're obviously going to view that very negatively. And these two factors really do help drive revenue uplifts. There are a couple of questions as well, I believe. So the first one: are there any recommendations in terms of content? Is it probably not recommended to promote products that are on sale? Just quickly to that, the limiting factor there would be availability. If the item that you are selling is something that it could sell out, then obviously because of print mailing, you would, with the lead times until it arrives at the customer, it may not be recommended. If it's something where you have no issues with stock, or if it's a service, then it is actually quite recommended. It's fully fine to send something that's on sale. So the only caveat there is to make sure that you either don't run out, or you ensure that when the person does try to purchase that product, that they're somehow picked up in that journey, with an alternative solution, for example. So.
Yeah. If I may add to that, I think it's I totally agree with what you say, Francis, and it's totally fine to promote products that are in sale. I think it's most important to define if the product is in sale, but it matches the, let's say, the preference of a certain customer, and if it falls under their interest, which you can check either by the previous engagement of communication regarding that product with a customer, or if simply if they purchased it. And if you go even further and if you dive deep to define or recommend the right product, it's also important to you can also create some models such as for example RFM, and you can see how frequent does a person buy product in a certain category.
Yeah, definitely. So next question, where can letters postcards be sent to, in which countries? Basically everywhere. Anywhere that you can send mail to, you can send it to, so there's no limitation on that. Additionally, however, we also have partners in a growing number of countries, so that we can also print locally. That helps reduce both the lead times as well as the costs. So, for example, in Austria, the UK, etc. Yeah. So the next one. Do you recommend to integrate direct mail and cross-channel campaigns? I think this one's for both of us. I think in terms of print itself, obviously, yes. Of course, that's why we're here. But I think this is also part of building that journey for your customer. So that I think, as Gregory showed you, we had the option to send an SMS. We have an option to send an email, and if there's no response to the email, then you could then reach out with print, so that firstly you ensure that you pick up your customer through using these different channels. At the same time, though, you're also limiting the resources that you use. So you've tried this, you've tried that, and now try print to grab them. And then if you don't get a response on that, then you try a follow-up email, for example. And I think there's almost no limit on how complex you can make that.
See, I will take the next question, which is which requirements need the data meet to be ready for segmentation and personalization? I think it's an important question to understand, how can you make your data ready for segmentation and personalization? I would like to start from, maybe state the obvious, but first of all, the data has to be available in the platform you wish to work in. So as today we focus in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, make sure that all the necessary data stays in SFMC and you already have it available. The next step is to ensure data sanity and how clean is your data. When I say clean data, I mean ensure that you do not have any record duplicates and you are not going to, let's say, target the same email 2 times and hence to send the communication twice to the same customer. Another important point to consider is respecting their opt-in preferences, since actually the fact if there are some duplicates in your records means that these records are coming from different data sources. For example, Gregory can submit an order in the shop, then online and through the mobile app. But if I give you the consent or opt out once in one of the channels, this has to be respected. So it is important to track all the data and make it as a golden or master record, ensure that it's clean and all the fields are available and unified. And I would say that the golden rule is to keep as much data as possible in your marketing automation platform, since you can base the criteria of segmentation definition right there. Francis, do you have anything to add from your experience in personalization and Optimize?
I just one more point is that you can also use a recommendation engine in order to generate what products could be of interest in order to personalize the mailings. That's the I think it's something that's often overlooked, but because you are very flexible when it comes to generating a mailing, a recommendation engine there to help filter out what products could be of interest really does help a lot. So then we have, what is the best use case to start with in direct mail? Birthday, to be honest. I personally, I think that's quite often, I think everyone wants to start with second order push and reactivation, but birthday is actually one where I think it creates a lot of value. It's also relatively straightforward. It's you constantly have customers who constantly have birthdays, so but the loyalty factor there is something that I find is really something that's not to be underestimated. By sending out a birthday card to someone, just acknowledging that you know that it's their birthday and you're giving them a little treat, even if it's just a happy birthday, we hope you have a great day. I think everyone appreciates that, especially because it's not an email. Getting that card in the mailbox that says, hey, we cherish you as a valued customer and we celebrate your special day is something that is really not to be underestimated. That's my favorite one, to be honest, birthdays. I always celebrate every time a customer finally sets one of those automations up.
I can follow that, and maybe just from my experience, when of course when I have my birthday, and many companies send email to say congratulations, while it's way more pleasant to receive the physical mail with congratulations, especially when it's personalized. I think, well, that resonates in current digital world. That resonates more, at least to me personally.
Yeah, we call it the fridge factor as well. It's quite nice to. So I get one from my local bowling alley every year with a little voucher, and I hang that up on the fridge because until I use it, so it's very present. You compare that with an email, it's too easy to ignore, to get lost in the inbox. I don't know how it is for other people, but I get, I think, somewhere in the region of 60, 70 emails a day privately. So, they disappear. But that little physical mailing you hang up on the fridge till you use it, I think that's pretty great.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
then we've done with that. I think the other question has been answered. So I think if there's no more questions,
Yep. I think we can move forward and start wrapping up our webinar. And we would like to mention that we are thankful for everyone who joined our session today. We will definitely share the slides and the recording of this webinar. But if you have some questions afterwards, if you think that you still want to raise a certain use case or ask a question, please do not hesitate to reach out to us directly. You can see our contact details on the slide, or you can find us on LinkedIn, or just send an email directly. So the word is over to you, Francis.
All right. So thank you very much for attending. Keep this short and sweet. Have a good weekend. It's only one more sleep to go, and hope to hear from you guys soon. Bye.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.